of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by the way the Chisteru. Chapter 84. Enter Todoroki Toya. Part 1. Walking through the end of the asylum, the short corridor that had opened up after the final boss inviting them through with eerie music, random screams, the group chuckled at what they found there. For peppered with electronic screens, the walls were showcasing photographs that had been taken of them inside the attraction. He spotted one of himself mid-eyeball, and had to snigger when Obero demanded that he be allowed to buy it. Shouta just about stifled a yawn. It had been quite an emotionally draining day, hadn't it? He'd had to double check that he'd set his alarms for tomorrow morning just to be safe, wouldn't he? Congratulations, explorers! You have successfully escaped the ruthless undead. Blinking out of his thoughts, he and the others were allowed into the gift shop area at the beckon of a staggering, creepy-looking man. Please, go to the prize desk. Be sure to pick up charms which ward against evil, and check out our summer sales. There are 15% discounts on certain lines. The zombified employee furthered as they bowed at him and walked past. Oh, 50% discounts. Who'd have thought that? The afterlife would be so affordable, Ned? Chuckling at his dates, those eyebrows waggling, they waved goodbye to the kids and walked to the prize section of the exit, a pleasantly smiling woman in a half-devil mask awaiting them. Was it him, or was that smile slightly strained? Ah, hello. Please place your tracking bracelets and cameras into the trays provided, she said with a polite incline of her head. And, if I may say so, sir, we've never seen someone, approach our staff like that before, and I've been asked to pass on thanks from most of them, she added, her tone sheepish. Sorry. He smiled, a little bit of guilt prickling in him. He knew that he could be blunt when annoyed, and the bluntness, even though it wasn't intended to be, could come off as rudeness, could it? I didn't mean to cause any offense. Here, please take some of my business cards. If any of your staff want to come by for food and drink, then I'll discount them, all right? He stated whilst Obero snickered, his handsome features filled with admiration and growing excitement. Oh, Sho, you're so generous. And speaking of generosity, how many points did we score, he asked, his eyes casting across the wall behind her where the prizes were listed. He doubted anyone could get the vast numbers needed to claim anything better than a novelty cup or I survived badge. God, what a ripoff. Shirakumo-san, you acquired 7,923 points, which means you're eligible to choose from any other prizes from row B, she told him, the wall lighting up to show off the 4 items he could select. Oh, yeah, I've never got so many before. Oh, I'll take the travel mug, please. He virtually crowed, his form literally doing a little jig, his hands making the same grabby motion that a young child would. It was ridiculously endearing, and since everyone seemed hell-bent on taking his photo, he took a few steps back and snapped one of him as he got his head-shaped mug. The dead woman's black hair curled into a handle, the lid which capped it to keep the beverage hot, and contained a domed pink and red brain. How fun? Oh, and I'd like a copy of photo number 57, too. Of course, sir. And you, Aizawa-san, your points total is 10,397, she told him, her fingers tapping away at a keyboard they couldn't see since she was sat behind a counter. Which means that you can select a prize from row A, she added with a grin. You're one of the first to score so highly. Would we be able to retain an image of you for our patron newsletter? Oh, sure, he replied with a light shrug, his eyes casting across the line of prizes, each less appealing than the last. His choices were a scary doll. No thanks, dolls were creepy even in the best of times. A scary costume. He wasn't sure if the teens would want it or not. An ornate yokai mask. But where would he put it? Or 6 tickets for the attraction. That was probably his best bet. Not that the Todds could come here. You had to be over 14 to enter, but he could regift them, couldn't he? Obero would definitely take them off of his hands, wouldn't he? I'll take the tickets, please, he said, the pro turning to him excitedly, his eyes actually sparkling as he took them from the sales clerk and then handed them straight over to him. What? Shoot! You're the best, man. Thank you. Chuckling as the other roped a friendly arm around his neck, they made their way out of the asylum and back into the busy pier, the sun slowly making its way towards the choppy waves as throngs of people continued to mill about in their flip-flops, board shorts, and sunglasses, while stuffing themselves with cotton candy, watame, and crepes. All at extortionate prices, dear God. So, you want to head back to the cafe? Looking at the other a little guiltily because, yes, he very much wanted to go home. He realized that the night was still early and that the older man could have been so much more with his evening, couldn't he? You sure you wouldn't mind? He smiled, his tone sheepish as the other chuckled and shook his head. Well, I could tell you lots of stories all about today on the way back, too, if you like. He offered, the older man's features brightening at the prospect. That'd be great, he replied happily, a new pair of nimbuses forming. We all may not be going sightseeing around Kyoto this Thursday, you know. Arriving home, his fact-finding mission for the oldest twin a success. He'd learned that Oboto's favorite food was souffle pancake, that his birthday was May 5th, and that his favorite hobbies included practicing with his bow staff, video games, and tending to his cat. He invited the pro inside. Thanks, Joe. I had a great time, and we definitely need to spend some more time together, you know, he replied warmly. But you look like you need a recharge. Today must have been pretty tough with that douchebag coming by. So just get some rest, and I'll see you later. Oh, and good luck for Wednesday. That family you're building keeps getting more awesome, doesn't it? Giving the other a hug and his thanks. He watched him fly away before turning to the stray cat cafe, his shoulders visibly relaxing. Who would have thought that having a home to return to would feel so good? Seeing his boys looking at him through the window similarly made his heart feel warm, and so in just under a minute he was through the door, under the cat-eared bell, and inside, where Johnny, I got a question for you. Walking towards Denki, he and Itoshi on one side of the table, whilst Dabi and Tomura occupied the other, all three of them similarly decked out in loungewear as they shared a few boxes of baggy. Spinner sadly wasn't with them. He'd texted him good night and see you next week, Captain. My mom says thanks for the cake. My Gram's gonna love it. When he'd left the Norineko 15 or so minutes ago, his father having swung by to pick him up since they were going on a surprise vacation to somewhere in the south tomorrow. Such a good kid. And speaking of good kids, a question. He mused, his hands swiftly snagging the strawberry-flavored biscuit stick that his oldest ward was about to pick up, his mouth snickering around his pilfered mouthful, whilst Dobby puffed and the other boys giggled. Ask away. He grinned his stolen treat quickly eaten. Okay, Barney took you to the haunted place on the pier, right? The mustard blonde asked, whilst Hitoshi sneaked blueberry pocky just as Tomura was reaching for it, the decayed corkies were mockingly trying to grab it back with a pout. So, did you think that the asylum was A, illogical, B, irrational, or C, really scary? Blinking. Ah, so there was another betting pool afoot, was there? He crossed his arms and tried to summon his inner ham. It was, he began, the four of them looking at him expectantly. Definitely C, he stated with a forced shudder. Don't call bullshit, you crazy not so old guy, Dobby stated, his hand slapping the table, whilst Denki, the last option clearly having been his hot pick, preened and clapped his hands together whilst Hitoshi huffed and Tomura nodded next to his partner. No, I'm being serious. He tried, his brows lifting and his head shaking ruefully. Those football prices were some of the most frightening things I've ever seen. Hey. He laughed, his face had just assaulted by broken biscuit sticks, all of them chuckling. Man, it was good to be home. Monday and Tuesday rolled by with their usual morning and lunch rushes, and wonderfully some middle schoolers and high schoolers also came by just to hang out, pet their feline friends, scoff food, and get to know his teens, and that's better. His tots, who with no homework to do, could simply relax and enjoy themselves. Eijiro, his mother not having been able to book much time off for the summer, had spent both days with them, his happy-go-lucky nature burgeoning as he, Izuku, and Hitoshi got to develop their friendship, all three of them excitedly practicing katas and eagerly inviting the girls to join them as both Tsuyu and Ochako were daily fixtures too. However, during the hotter hours of the day, instead of boisterously running around, the pair preferred to assist Tomoko with cat enclosure in between watching the teenagers playing a plethora of RPGs that made Dungeons and Dragons seem like tic-tac-toe. They'd had a few requests for board games, too, with Hitoshi happily sharing his birthday gifts and Katsuki whipping out some travel-sized versions from his backpack. Seeing the cafe so filled with life and happiness was one thing. Oh, ho, ho. I bet you weren't counting on this, welcome, Umejan. What? Give me your secret taro tapioca recipe or pick up 20 cards. Baby John, you little minx! All lively, vivacious members of the Knitting Nook playing Uno, however, had been an intense and exciting thing to watch. However, as wonderful as everything was, Wednesday was soon upon them, and with Nobori and Hisashi stepping in to assist his actual employee with the running of his eatery, he and his two oldest, soon-to-be official, wards made their way to Mariah's car with Eijiro, Izuku, and his youngest waving them goodbye. Well, don't all three of you look dapper? The future seer smiled whilst, with a polite incline of his head, he pulled the car away from the curb and headed toward Musatafu's municipal office, where a family court judge would preside over the signing of the documents. They'd been told that formal wear wasn't necessary. However, as Dobby had walked down the stairs in a slick black suit, white button-down, and purple tie, alongside Tomra, his slender build elegantly dressed in a plum-colored blazer and tailored pants, his own shirt a pale blue with matching tie, he felt incredibly proud. You getting teary on us, you nonsense old guy? I'm just imagining the pair of you on your wedding day, that's all. What? I've not even taken him on a proper date yet, have I?
Idiots! Every day with you is like a proper date for me, you traditionalist sap.
He would always relish their banter, the quiet moments they got to spend together in the less hectic moments of their cafe lifestyle. He couldn't be more proud of them. He couldn't be more pleased to offer them his name and the security a full identity would bring them. Yeah, well, we couldn't become Aizawas and not look the part, you know, the flame quirk user admitted, his cheeks pinking a little as his partner leaned against him in the back seat. And besides, with the kitten dressed up like a runway model, we figured wearing hoodies and jeans wouldn't look right. He furthered, his eyes now staring out of the window. Pensively? Hmm. He pocketed that look and promised himself to speak to the 16-year-old later, his eyes checking on him through the rear view window before looking down at the pack of paperwork he'd been asked to gather. The governmental office would need all of these things on file, no doubt, but he felt happier to have them in his hands. Nothing was going to stop him from helping these kids, not even some snooty secretary who would try to tell him that they couldn't find his birth certificate or something. Well, I can't argue with that. Mirai juggled, their vehicles seamlessly merging into the light early afternoon traffic. And thank you, by the way, for the invitation to your party, he stated, his hand flicking on the indicator as he moved towards the exit they needed to take. I am very much looking forward to it, he admitted. What cakes did the two of you request? And again,
Strawberry shortcake for me and some kind of marshmallow monstrosity for this guy.
Tomra, happily surprised, his elbow lightly nudging the taller teen, who snickered. Marshmallows are delicious, dark-haired boy defended, his lips tilting into a little smirk as he turned to his partner, his eyes now alight with mischief. And they remind me of you.
What?
Now, all laughing, the strange somberness from earlier having melted away, Schroeder patted out the few wrinkles he could see in his fanciest suit and allowed the banter to wash over him. Such good kids. His good kids. Unsurprisingly, everything went smoothly. They'd been led through the marble-floored, grandly decorated office to an oaken visitor's desk, where Judge Hatsume's aide had greeted them, his tall, gangly form polite yet reserved in the way that officials of their ranking were prone to be, as he guided them up an equally ornate stairway. After a few minutes of meandering down corridors which boasted framed photographs of a prestigious person, potted plants, and rich carpeting, they were led to the judge's chambers and sat around a highly polished mahogany desk which contained packets of documents, fountain pens, and a pitcher of icy water with glasses. The room itself was relatively small and lined with heaving bookshelves across most of the walls. The rest of the walls, however, showcased the woman's many qualifications and newspaper clippings of the bigger cases of her career. Give him framed cat photos any day. However, the grandeur did make everything seem more proficient and official, didn't it? And as the woman made her entrance, they'd all risen, bowed at her, and listened attentively as she explained what they'd need to do and how it was to be done. The teens weren't asked any questions that they were uncomfortable with, and both had sworn, before the judge and official witnesses, that they wished to be fully emancipated from any previous parents, guardians, or family members, and be granted protected status under a new identity. Then a number of official papers signed. They'd had their photographs taken, their birthdays declared, and cited the Noroneko Cafe as their place of residence. After which, the judge, having used her official stamp, Aizawa Dabi and Aizawa Tomra became full-fledged citizens and could apply for any and all things that a lawful citizen could want. And although neither of you are minors, Aizawa Shouta is considered your legal next of kin, and is responsible for you in so much as we have cited here today, she stated, her vermilion eyes officious, her tone clipped even as a smile stretched her lips. Congratulations, she told them. It isn't common for me to preside over a case where this kind of outcome is so genuinely desired, and on a personal note, I would much rather build families than see them broken down, she added. Therefore, it is with no small amount of pleasure that I can hand you your new identity profiles, and I wish all three of you the very best for the future, she stated, the teens taking the files with bows of thanks, the pair then sharing a smile before they looked at him. Standing in unison, he opened his arms and wrapped them both into a firm hug, whilst the official witnesses looked on. Mideye snapped a few photos, and the judge's aide dismissed the room before the woman herself got up to leave, his eyes screwing shut as he soaked the feeling in. They were going to be okay now. They were going to be freed from their dark pasts. They were going to be able to do and be whomever they wanted. He was glad. Gripping the papers which would ensure not just his safety but Shota's in his hands, Dabi walked a little slower behind the group as Tomra smiled that soft, shy, earnest smile that always made his heart flutter. His partner had been so brave. He'd lived through so much shit. And now he was sure that he could do the same, and with Sir Night-Eye here, even though it could spoil the mood, he was sick of secrets. He was tired of hiding. He needed to be the big brother he'd become to the wonderful kids who'd helped to open him up, who'd helped to heal him, make him realize what it was to be a brother to his blood siblings. I just prayed that he wasn't too late to help them. However, with Shota, Tomura, Hitoshi in his corner with the rest of their found family, he knew it could be done. He knew that the great and powerful Todoroki Enji wouldn't stand a chance against all of them together. He wasn't the frightened, lost, lonely, weak 15-year-old he was when he made his decision to fake his death that fateful day upon the hill. The day when Endeavor would force him to stop training by any means necessary, since he was too stupid, worthless, and pathetic to get the message that he wasn't good enough. The day that Endeavor had promised would be the last in his house, that he'd be sent away so that his senseless whining wouldn't distract the man from training Shoto. Oh God, Shoto!
Dabi?
Blinking, he'd not realized that he'd stopped, his eyes fixed upon the shiny marbled floor of the huge grand building they were walking out of, his hands clutching the folder that proved he was none of the awful things that man had told him he was. Was he crying? Aye, you're all right. Looking up at Shota, those dark eyes filled with the kind of love and concern he never dreamt that anyone other than his mother would bestow him, the flame quirk user sucked in a breath. Can, can we all go somewhere private to talk? He asked quietly, but eyes concerned the form coming to his left as Tobra hugged his right. I really need your help.